Join Riot and the LGBTQ community in celebrating Pride Month. Inclusive games means a better experience for everyone, and while we can't march this year, we can certainly celebrate in-game. Now, all of the games, including League of Legends and Valorant, will have Pride content such as emotes, player cards, and more. Equip your content and show your support for LGBTQ+ players everywhere. All right, folks, and we say goodbye to our dear friend Veli, who had to head out a little early to catch a flight, but he did a tremendous job all week. And now joining us yet again is going to be HitScan's Ryan Central. So it's a pleasure to have you here once again, my friend. And we've got a series on our hands, folks. One of these teams will be advancing to the grand finals here at Masters Reykjavik. And you know what, though, Paper Thin? We saw some lineup changes from NUTURN that looked good. Here's the prime highlights. And I tell you, man, NUTURN showing us a different look this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Why it is a team they run on Ascent typically, but you can see why it's so much more effective. They have a lot more ability to gain information through the utility that FNATIC offers. I mean, on top of just being absolutely cracked out of their minds this round to particularly allow, having that Sky and that Sova, it gives you so much ability to kind of peek through what's going on inside of the Viper's pits, through the walls, through the smokes, these kind of things. And on top of everything, they've got extra post-plant defendability lineups they can utilize, as you saw on their attacker side. So this is a much cleaner, much better lineup on top of them just mechanically playing out of their darn minds.
Yeah, and on top of that, I would like to add that solo on Killjoy is way more effective than he was on Breach, because his lurks on Breach, you lose all that potential like initiation, right, when he's lurking with that character. But on Killjoy, that's perfect for him. He still has a setup, like, he's playing for the postman lineup, so he can save the nano swarms in the attack because it's just far away from his team. And by the way, I have to mention that this is the taste of the Korean meta, right? When you have the Astra, you have the Killjoy, you have the Sova playing together for the postal lineups. That was something that pulled off the win in round 2, and FNATIC just couldn't handle it. The Gravity Well pulling off the player from the defusal, then the shock dart was always just like making them go away from the spike as well. Then the nano swarm on top. It's the other way of playing the non-Viper compositions, but still with post-plan lineups. My hat is off for NUTURN that actually made the U-turn, right? I made this joke already before, but
it's low-hanging fruit.
So well, really.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, it is.
That's really what it is. But you know what, though? Looking though at the stats line and the leaderboards for this one, Ryan, it was very clear that NUTURN managed to find a way to shut down FNATIC, because the stats reflect that as well.
And as well, you saw a lot of good stuff when it comes to Durka. Like, he had a tremendous performance, and really, you could start to see why FNATIC was so keen to bring him in and the instant impact he's had on this squad. I think overall, everybody in Allow showed up when they needed to. There were lots of multi-kills, and, the cheeky play from Solo played in Wind, with the bit, in Wine even, with the bait turret on, probably to put them on match point, I think it was.
Yeah.
There were a lot of moments where everybody in NUTURN had impact. I think going forward onto Haven, there's one player in particular that I need to see more out of, who's been tremendous so far today. He could come up a massive here, and that being Magnum. He didn't really find those opportunities, those first bloods, those little openings, certainly on FNATIC's attack, where he could make some space for the rest of the team. I think that's what is needed for Haven, and it's a lot easier to do on Haven because there's free sites, there's a lot of openings, and Magnum, he could be a hero here for FNATIC.
The uncomfortable conversation has arrived, Paper Thin. They have to play Haven. It was spoken before by Mitchman and Tom Biz. In order for them to win this series, NUTURN, they'd have to win games 1 and 2. Now here we are in game 3. Haven has been a sore spot for this lineup. Have they figured it out overnight? Because that is the question, I think, on everyone's mind.
I mean, I think you've seen throughout this tournament that it's incredibly difficult overnight to adjust on the fly, to change your agent lineups, to change your strats. We saw it with Vikings bringing in Yoru. It just really wasn't that effective. It's just too hard to combo everything together, to prepare all of that, to get your utility in sync and in the right spots and at the right times. It's just almost an impossible task. So I think for NUTURN, it's just going to have to be the game of their lives. I mean, they're just going to have to frag out of their minds and, throw a few curveballs here and there, be good on their rotations, make sure they're trying to track the players of FNATIC as best they can and moving you know, off contact, trying to get their plants, and then going for post-plant setups is best. Get those crossfires set up as well.
So Ryan, you're joining us here. Players are getting geared up and ready to go. Real quick, before we send it over to casters, what was your prediction since we didn't get a chance to ask you beforehand?
I felt that FNATIC and Team Liquid could actually take the series against NUTURN, and I feel still the same, mostly overall, because Haven's a map that FNATIC haven't looked too bad on in the past, neither has Team Liquid, that it should go to a full series, but I think Haven should be the European map. It's a real test of metal, I think, at this point. We saw Team Liquid absolutely flop in that version 1 game. I have worries that FNATIC might do the same here. They're on the precipice of going into the grand finals for a rematch against Sentinels, but this NUTURN team, they have reverse sweep in their blood. They look incredible, and this should be an absolute banger to finish us out.
That's a great point you mentioned there, Ryan. The reverse sweep is in their blood. They've done it so many times now. Can they do it again, or will FNATIC find a way to stop the bleeding and get that rematch against Sentinels? Haven is the battleground. It's been a challenge for NUTURN. It's looked good for FNATIC. The question is, who comes out on top? Let's send it over to your casters to get things going here. We got Mitch Man and Tom Biz. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you very much, Golden Boy. And an interesting question there. You know, can FNATIC stop the bleeding? Have they got the platelets to do it? And can they dish up a good performance? Tom, I don't know how you're feeling about this one. When it comes down to Haven, I'm not really feeling it for NUTURN. They got to make those last-minute adjustments, and that's a very, very tough thing to do, as the desk highlighted.
Yeah, versus both Sharks and V1, they were attempting to run a composition that involved Astra, which I think we saw thrive when it came down to Ascent. Like, it was very, very good for them on the last map. But when we saw them try and play versus Sentinels, they actually went back to their old comp, a comp that they've actually played 16 times. So we're going to get that through now with the Prime Gaming. And, well, this just got a little bit more interesting. They've thrown in a Phoenix into the mix. So I'm looking forward to that. It's an agent that Suggest has definitely played a few other times, but I'm excited for it. I think especially on Haven, it gives you a lot of opportunity to garner a lot of extra space with those flashes. And him on the running back, well, that can only be scary.
Yeah, here at Masters, it's been interesting. I'm going to focus on NUTURN for a bit because in Masters, they took out their Sentinel. They started playing with Astra, and I thought, okay, you know, I see the interpretation here. Play Astra as a Sentinel. She's so good on attack. She brings a lot of value. It's reasonable. But then they took Astra out, put an Omen in, and didn't swap back out for their Sentinel. They weren't playing with their Sky. There's been a whole lot of changes NUTURN have applied. And there's a little phrase, you know, executing a bad strategy but doing it well can be better than executing a good strategy poorly. And I think that, you know, when you got the time to really practice out your plans when it comes down to the agent comps that you're playing, it can often be better to stick with what you know. But NUTURN, they're pulling out something brand new here, another attempt at a different comp, and let's see how that fares for them. Hopefully better than the previous. A very fast execute by FNATIC. My God, Dirk is on the site and they have no idea. 2 quick kills before he's dealt with, and now the rest of the players come rushing in. Lakia doing his best to stop this tidal wave of attackers, and with 3 kills under his belt, he's doing a damn good job. Boaster all alone. The Astra we saw in the early round, putting the gravity well down on Long and slowing the attack now, or the defense rather, now alone and gone. What a round by Lakia.
Incredible, incredible. This is what this man has pretty much become known for. Like, you don't necessarily see him too often on the flashier agents. I think they allow him maybe his time in the sun when it comes to like the likes of Icebox. Maybe he'll pick something up here and then on the Jet. But the thing that's so incredible is that whether it's a Sova, whether he's playing any agent, he still just is so crisp with that aim. And what a pistol round from him, because the way it began, that was looking like FNATIC were just about to dominate in the pistol round. Instead, it's another L for them.
Now, this is so important, what we saw in the player reactions there from NUTURN, getting loud, letting their opponents know, oh my God, look at this. They're in a bubble, literally protected from that recon dart and now sneaking out towards the A side. I'll tell you what. Boaster's done this versus me. Yes, it's the knife clip. It was not fun. It was a very difficult strategy to deal with as a Sova on the site, but Lakia is doing a damn good job of it yet again. Allow comes in for a 1, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. This round's starting to get a little bit costly. The early flank by Perry should be able to do some serious damage to these most planned setups. And it just about does.
They'll lose a couple of players along the way. The plant as well is a little bit of extra cash for FNATIC, so it means that the purchase coming back in for them is going to be solid. Now, again, on this map, I think that you're always going to highlight the likes of someone like Durka, but I'm looking at Boaster. I think the way that he sells fakes on this map is really hard to play against. He's going to use a lot of that Astra utility to make things awkward, as we saw in this round, like managing to help them dodge that dart that would have given a lot of early information over to NUTURN and basically garnered them the site in the first place. Also, in this round in particular, they're coming in with a much better buy than what we've seen from the NUTURN side.
Yeah, for NUTURN, it's also important to note that Lakia only had a Ghost, right? He had saved up a lot of money, so that investment down to a Vandal or up to a Vandal now doesn't hurt quite as much. So they only really lost one weapon. Obviously a lot of armor because 2 players died, plus Perry ended up on 70 HP, losing all of his shields along the way. So that is significant enough reinvestment. This round does give an advantage to FNATIC. NUTURN still have cash in the bank, so it's not the end of the world if they lose it, and on paper, they should lose it with 3 Spectres in play. But as we come into the 1 minute 10 second mark, FNATIC haven't really moved from spawn. They haven't taken much map control, or maybe arguably even any, outside of what they get at the start of the round. It's time to up the pace and start poking at this defense, because in terms of information, Tom, they have none.
And this is where we're actually going to start to see some information garnered from Solo. He's still got his cam into B, and they'll hear it, but if they break it, they'll give him even further. He'll know that they've lost the site. Spotting the ice wall already gives that one away. But this seems like a ruse. They push Boaster up. He loves to lurk around this mid position and try and hold off rotations. And the rest of the team are going to start making a play in towards the A site. But with the crossfire that's there, Mitch, and 30 seconds left, this could become very awkward indeed.
The discipline of NUTURN not to overreact to any sort of control that's being postured on. It might not pay off, though. Perry is now trapped on the site and being challenged from all angles. After falling, it leaves Allow and Solo to make what seems to be an impossible clutch happen, especially with Allow falling. It's only a Spectre of Solo, and although all these players are low that are about to face him, there are still 3 on the site who are nice and healthy. Oh, and he has no... Whoop! Weapon comes out just in time, but... Well, Durka hits the headshot first.
Yeah, they denied it being a flawless round at least, doing a little bit of extra damage, and we know that the likelihood is NUTURN are going to have a reasonable buy into this next round anyway. That's most of the weapons that they had being kept over from the previous round. But these entry kills were so important from FNATIC. They left this one very late, almost hoping that they would have baited a player or 2 into a rotation away and moved them into B after what was the early fake in this round. Instead, it seems like NUTURN have a decent read of what they want to try and do with this Astra, and instead just left a couple of players behind. Good showing. Unfortunately, the weaponry wasn't quite there.
I do find it very interesting that they're constantly trying to negate this long control on A. You see that FNATIC don't even send a player there at the start of this round, because when you put down that black hole, normally it's going to stop anybody from going out on A. But with a jet, you can counter that. And the fact that you've got a Sova supporting out with the recon arrow. But Durka, he's just dashed into this B side. Got it secured. There's smokes down either side. Lots of control here for FNATIC. It's holding onto it in the post plans that's going to be very, very difficult. CEST, if he pops a flash out here, he could have a free kill with that Judge and an upgrade. And Hunter's Fury doing serious damage, man. Double kill with that. Durka and Mystic do their best to pull it back. But will their best be good enough?
They're looking to try and find out the information. Unfortunately, some of the utilities just got completely stuck, going to start destroying the wall. And actually, they've just got onto the defusal, trying their best to stick it. But this time, it isn't looking too good. Boaster even going to run through the blaze to try and find out where CEST is hiding. But he needs to retreat. He needs to fall back. And I think Boaster, I don't know if he's going to get away from this spike. He'll get caught in the end. They take the round, and I like the adaptation from FNATIC. They almost sell it in the last as a fake. Like, okay, we faked this B set, we faked the early control, and then in the next round, they actually just do the take they faked in the first place.
You know, when it comes down to CEST I really need to highlight this because it could be a big factor moving forward. If you've got a Phoenix, when you're making that swap, especially if it's a swap from a Raze to a Phoenix, with Raze, damage, assists, map control, denying the aggression, and clearing angles, very, very important. With Phoenix, those elements don't play as much of a role. You need to... Oh, no. You need to be able to deliver these kills. You've got to be getting on the board, and with the orb control being denied as actively as it is by FNATIC, getting that ultimate online, which is the main value of it, is going to be very difficult in this half and perhaps extending into the next as well. So this is somewhere I need to see him really prove to us that this is a worthwhile swap.
This round at least. Not a massive amount invested. Gambling some rotations to try and spot into the B site with 2 rounds it being pressured by FNATIC. It's no surprise that they're going to go in this direction and may even look to try and take some extra map control. They have a peak coming out of Garage at the same time, but FNATIC are just waiting. They've got that man advantage, patiently watching to see if there's anybody getting aggressive and throwing down a little bit of utility to try and fake them out. Mystic, with his guiding light, will find that there is nobody on this A site at all, and that alone should be enough for them to quickly push in and get the afterplant.
You know, even when you've got weapons, and maybe let's even throw in a man advantage as well, if you're NUTURN, right? If it was a 5v4 in their favor, retaking this site is horrible. The double shock darts don't land anything for them. And although the turret was pulled back, the alarm bot was still very much active. So flank, they're now aware that it's coming in. Solo has a judge for this close range fight. If he does clear his corner, oh, he chooses the wrong one in the 50-50. Unfortunate. But getting in versus an Astra, you know, as soon as you try to go in through spawn, there's a gravity well, there's a stun, then there's a smoke, and that's on top of you breaking the wall and then having to walk through a choke point. It's not very easy. Oh, well, Dirk is feeling it.
It's just going to be Perry running away. The interesting thing about this composition as well is if you actually go back to look at the previous team they played, obviously that would be Sentinels, and there's only a marginal change with Perry instead of going for that Astra, going for the Omen instead. The difference being, though, that I feel like we now need to see them actually battle for a little bit more of that early control. As you were mentioning, like, we've now seen them pull up that Phoenix. I think that means that Suggest realistically needs to try and battle out. And we see Sick do that quite often, where he just takes those peaks out of Garage and just manages to pull off almost just ridiculous rounds that make very, very little sense when watching them. So I'm interested to see if that is the plan. Allow also investing into the operator and even has that Bladestorm available as backup. I expect this to be more of an aggressive take and may even just peek into that Gravwell, which has been placed down early by Boaster.
One thing that you also have to comment on, just on that Perry swapping up his agents back to the Omen, he can also play this much more like a duelist now, especially with the flash and whenever his utility is gone. So it's nice, you're more involved than you are when you play Astra, and you definitely don't want Perry to be removed from the action considering how he's been playing so far. Durka discounts the tripwire, but still, Solo's able to get a double. A decent start with Lakia in through the wall. What? 4 on the board, single-handedly wins the round for NUTURN, and a res was invested by FNATIC. That is heartbreaking for the attackers. It was looking so good. Solo got 2, but the trade was there. The res was in play. This push by Lakia has nearly broken me as a human being.
God, this is now every single one of his kills came out from pushing through a cosmic divide. And the thing that was so intelligent about even the initial kill that he gets is he knows they've attempted to clear that with the Tiger. So he just pushes into it afterwards, knowing that nobody's going to expect him to be there because they've already gone for the information play. A brilliant round from Lakia. And now, well, I mentioned that aggression. They're trying very hard to pressure Allow.
That was Lakia's second 4K in just 6 rounds. Come on, this guy, he's on fire right now. We mentioned Perry map 1, and now we've got Lakia potentially for the second win. NUTURN, let's see. We saw Allow go out for that early stage. Doesn't find anything. Smoke is down. The cross has come in. Durka is now tucked in the corner, waiting for his moment to strike. Perry right up close. The lockdown came into play and went out of it pretty damn quickly. FNATIC starting to rotate towards the C side at least, conceding a lot of that A control for now, leaving just Magnum to maintain that ground. NUTURN, 45 seconds left on the defense, and they need to figure out what is going on because they're hearing steps in garage. There we go. They've spotted the lurker.
They've not fallen for the bait either. The Spike attempting to push in on the other side of the map, and they're catching all of these players as they try to push in. Only 2 remaining, and Doma is almost going to end up walling off his teammate. This gives Perry only 1 angle to focus on, and Mystic has been spotted. He's been cleared from behind. Doma needs to pull off some sort of miracle here, and I just don't think it's going to be possible. 4 players to find, trying to isolate the initial duel onto Lakia, and he's been blinded by the paranoia. Perfect combos coming out from NUTURN, and they make this round look easy.
They made that look very easy, Tom, because there was a lot going on. Like, you have a heavy fake soul towards the C site. They're running in through garage, breaking trap wires, putting down stars, making all that noise. It had been just long enough that those players could have rotated from A long. Perry winning this fight kept Allow in position because your player's pushed up short. He's on his way back. You've got to maintain long control. Picks the kill. Then Cypher, who was gently coming up on the flank of Boaster, who was trying to flank out C consequentially, was communicating that to his teammate. Every single hole that was there in the defense was identified, communicated, and dealt with. And that's exactly what you want. This is textbook Valorant from NUTURN on a map that so far in Masters, they've looked horrendous on.
I think they've definitely done their research into FNATIC. There's no doubt about that. Mentioned it at the beginning of the map that Boaster loves to try and sell a fake using all of that Astra utility, and they just didn't fall for it. They worked it out very early in the round and left their players to defend. Now again, we're seeing these gambles coming out from NUTURN with just the abandonment of one of the sites. But spotting all of that utility, this time it's a much more direct approach and caught, but still denied.
Oh, look at this though, Magnum. He's come in to suggest it looked like maybe there was a second on the line for him, but it ain't gonna be connected for now. NUTURN maintain their man advantage. The retake to be mounted will be difficult, especially with that turret online. There's garage control, theirs without even having to have a player in this area. And yet still Magnum's gonna be lurking around there. The rotate or the flank that's coming in from Lakia is very long. Not just because it's on C long, but because it's going to take a while. And before he even gets there, all of his teammates are dead as he finally emerges around that corner. Just way too much time ran down on that. Now it's basically impossible to win this one out. As he goes onto the spike, he is able to get it halfway at this point, actually, by the time they swing in, but there's just no time left.
Still at least doing a little bit of extra damage, and Mystic, is he actually going to survive this one? No, he goes down to the spike. Caught almost dawdling to try and get out of that one. And that means they wipe out every single player on the FNATIC side. That just seems like an oversight coming out from Mystic there. And, well, considering, as you sort of mentioned, that it may not have been a round victory for NUTURN, but they do manage to take every single player down. Yeah, maybe a few air fist bumps a little bit too soon.
Yeah, the economy damage is definitely one thing. At the same time, where they're at right now, FNATIC will take every round at whatever cost they can get it at. That recon going to be destroyed straight away, alongside the smoke covering out any sort of perspective from A short, is making them worried that this is an A hit. Solo pushes down to try and get a little bit of extra control and information, but runs right into a couple of players, loses a chunk of HP along the way, and now FNATIC, they're kind of stalled a little bit. They know, okay, we've denied a little bit of information over on A, we've denied the push down C long, but without the kill, it's time to try and find openings elsewhere, and Allow has gone completely undetected on B. He's calling that this flank is on the way. There's already hot hands down to block them, buying time for Allow to come in and support his teammate, grab the kill, and look to delay any sort of further push onto the site. That peek from Suggest was maybe a little bit much though.
Dome has been able to turn this into a workable position, but Allow is still battling his third kill of the round, but the fourth is not quite going to come through, with Mystic doubling up. Looking like it's all down to Perry, and Boaster this time predicts him. It will be FNATIC to take the lead once again. But again, it just seems to be by the skin of their teeth. These rounds have been so ridiculously close. I think we also need to talk about the fact that Lakia is currently 15-6 Like, he's almost got double the kills of anyone else in the server. It's only Durka with 8 who just denies that stat from being true.
And you know, one of the things about Lakia as well, he had the 2 4Ks, that ultimate that just shredded everybody on the B side, slowing down the push, allowing them to get in there for post plans, like, or to deny post plans rather from FNATIC. Even though the round doesn't go their way necessarily, it's just, still the impact is there. You know, Lakia is having a lights out series. For FNATIC, I agree 100%. That round, super close. This one, though, shouldn't quite be the same. There's 2 pistols in play for NUTURN. They need to find some situations where these pistols can not really be at a disadvantage, right? Bridge the gap between them and a weapon. And FNATIC are going to go for the B side. In retaking this side, it's going to be very, very difficult if you're playing with pistols in hand. Good thing Alau's got some knives at least. Let's hope they connect, because if he has to go to that classic, I'm not feeling too good.
He's at least been able to deny them for a little bit of extra time. Looking to try and at least kill off Doma, but the knives not quite connecting. They will get that side control, will get that after plant, and I feel like a lot of this comes down to what Solo can do, which is nothing. He's been caught attempting to try and flank. It seems like FNATIC have every single angle covered, and luckily Durka is also there, just fragging away, leaving 2 players left. Perry and the Starman Lakia.
And then there was one. This should be a foregone conclusion, really, for Perry. The time is just way too low. The question is, can he save this weapon? And now spotted out, well, the headshot confirms it. And there was a quick flank coming in from Boaster to make sure he couldn't get away. 6 on the board for FNATIC, a good recovery of a few fumbled rounds. And although they've been close when they've won, they are still winning. NUTURN having to take that weaker buyout in the previous round, having a Sheriff, having the Blade Storm that didn't connect and then leaves them in an awkward spot. Now they're in hot water if they lose this one here, because they could be again staring down the barrel of an 8-4 half on a map where, I have to be honest, you know, when they move to the attack, I probably have a little bit more faith in them, because on a map you're not too good at, it's going to be easier, especially Haven, to play the attack side, especially against a team like FNATIC. But 8-4? That's a little bit too much. You're hanging so much on the pistol round then. NUTURN need to connect this round.
Yeah, I think as well that FNATIC on this map have a lot of ability to delay. Like, okay, maybe excluding just Durka's pure fragging ability. Other than that, they've got so much utility that is available to them. The slows out from Doma will help. Mystic going to be looking for that extra info while using all those guiding lights to delay at the same time. And that's before we even get to the Sentinel and the controller of the team. So, I definitely agree. I think that there's opportunities for them, especially with the more aggressive comp that they've ensued into this map, like bringing in the Phoenix to give CEST more of an opportunity. But I want to see him almost battle a little bit more for some of that control. Like, we've seen a few times now, Allow just thriving, Lakia catching a few players off guard, using their own utility against them. But I'm yet to see CEST have that sort of aggressive play that almost takes over the round for them.
NUTURN's tactical timeout underlines what we've been talking about, right? How important this round is. And I think the fact there's no credits in the bank certainly goes to show that even further. One thing that is worth note at this point is that when it comes down to ult economy, NUTURN, they haven't used that many ultimates, and they've not really got a lot about to come online, whereas FNATIC are in a much better position. That said, I'm interested to see what they do with the lockdown, because last time they put it down on short, and I'm pretty sure someone wallbanged it, but it just got destroyed instantly. So now the main position that you're going to use those lockdowns from, it's kind of negated a little bit. You got to find something else, some more uses for it. Oh no, that's not the fight you want. A really great paranoia. One player can see him and he takes him down quickly, but Perry is traded immediately, leaving Lakia to be the man to defend this site, toe tapping away and dealing a little bit of damage, but the lockdown catches him.
Yeah, he went for the wallbang again to try and deny it, and this time it's completely fallen flat, meaning that he's gone down with it. A big problem, as that was his whole plan. He didn't have an escape route after that moment. I love the fake out smoke as well, used by FNATIC to just bait a false sense of security for Allow, and it leaves CEST and Solo with no real way back into this site. Now, for Solo, retrieving a rifle here, that's a huge bonus. He came into this round with a judge. He's looking to try and maybe get an exit on the way out, catch somebody not looking the right way. And for FNATIC, well, they're hunting a few of these players down. Solo is going to get caught, and they're on the hunt for CEST as well.
Oh, they don't want anything to be carried over by NUTURN in this round. We said how important it was they won it, and not carrying a single rifle over when they went for the save would be even worse. Around the corner comes Doma, but CEST deals with him, and now just gonna tuck in CEST. Why is he doing that? I guess because he thinks the players will come from A side, actually, and then the spike had already blown that up, so it's less likely someone comes through there. But that made me very scared, because obviously we can see with X-Ray, there was a player real close, and they have a lot of money on FNATIC. I don't think they're gonna be sweating all too much if they lose 1 or 2 extra weapons. That could have been very scary.
I think that was almost a round full of mishaps for NUTURN. They're being caught out by the fake Nebula, and then the wallbang not working out either. It's just 2 players already lost. I'm gonna see the early dart straight through the window. That is dope.
I think they avoided that fight, Tom. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, they have plenty of money. Why would they not just try to take it? I think they avoided it because whether they kill him or he kills them, he gets an ult orb. And they don't want a Phoenix to be 1 ult orb away from, well, his ult coming into the final round. If that's what's happened, that is like 300 IQ. I love that decision because we used to always talk about it, Tom. Remember early days of Valorant? We'd be like, oh, why would you take that fight? You know, because there's another economy past credits to think about. And Phoenix's ult, pretty much as strong as they get. You know, you do not want that to be in play. So smart from FNATIC if that's what happened. Please, Boaster, don't come out and go, nah, we just didn't want to lose a weapon.
Well, it's going to be a fast take once again, prepared for Durka, and Perry is already going to combine. This A-site defense between the 2 of them is looking superb. The spike drop to the floor. The peek from Magnum does get 1 in a second as well. So crisp and clinical, and it's left onto Solo, the veteran around on the flank. But it seems like they're aware of this, already taking more passive angles, making sure that they can get the health of Mystic up. He's already watching that angle, holding on, and Magnum will close the round. Superb stuff from him on FNATIC. As said, he has had a magnificent day of Valorant from the first series to the second, and now 8-4 up. NUTURN, this is the lifeline. They need a turnaround.
We talked about Phoenix coming into this, man. I said I felt like it had to be a big factor for NUTURN. 2 kills at the end of the half. You know,
This happens a lot, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Well, we talked about it, man. There's a couple of things that you have to consider, you know? First of all, FNATIC are not giving him the opportunities to shine. Remember, one of those kills was an exit to save a weapon. I don't remember when the other one was. It's not been great for CEST. He's having a really tough game, and this is one where you'll definitely look back at it if you're NUTURN and look at what FNATIC did to counter you. But here on the attack, this is where he should really shine. Farm those ult orbs, farm the ulties, and really just be that entry for the team where even if he doesn't get... Oh, no, man. That's Lackey as well. That's the guy that's double the kills of nearly anyone else on the... certainly on his team, but nearly anyone else in the server.
He won the pistol.
He got a 4K in the pistol, wasn't it?
Yeah, he basically won them the pistol. So the fact that he's gone is definitely a huge loss. Boaster in the corner. He's going to use the grab wall. Manages to fall back. One the dive through from Allow, but he's still going strong. Has a stun and Magnum alongside him as well. It's left all onto Solo again. A 1 versus 5 to try and give them that extra lifeline they needed. It is not looking likely for him, but he can at least try earn some extra credits and some extra ult points.
How is Boaster still alive right now? That is the question I want a thesis written on, because that's ridiculous. He's been jet dashed on, player up close, another comes to trade, and then somehow he survives. And then through the smoke, Solo falls. That's one way to go.
Just goes, maybe he's hit. You know, could just be straight through the...
Oh, but of course, Tom, he spammed him through the smoke with the most common long-range weapon, Frenzy.
Of course.
Even worse. Look at this. The 2, then he pops the stun while jumping around. And I think it was Magnum trades out the second kill. We talked about how important it was for NUTURN to be getting loud and getting confident. But now, 8-4 down, lose the pistol. Again, FNATIC winning pistols. This doesn't happen very often. NUTURN, they're going to be feeling all kinds of negative emotions.
Luckily, they have those veterans who try and bring things back for them, to change the mental state of this team. And now we get to see them come in with a purchase. not a particularly good one, of course, after a pistol loss. So they're going to have a couple of SMGs, and we know what they can do with the Sheriffs. They proved that already. Some of the other force buys they've gone for. The two in-game leaders of the side almost back-to-back at this stage as the rest of the team look to try and challenge for garage control. A lot of that has to be covered off by Durka, and instead Boaster actually goes aggressive and realizes, okay, see you later, Solo.
This is somewhere that NUTURN are going to be struggling with if they lose this force buy. A lot invested, man. They got to be getting rewards out of this. It has to pay dividends.
That's a late wall.
Very. And this cuts out, they weren't going for short, but it means now that FNATIC don't have to look anywhere else. They are completely focused on long. And Mystic picks the first. That's the Spectre. He's fighting an even duel, but he's got one trick up his sleeve in the form of Doma, a player there to support him, and even heal him up afterwards. NUTURN, Spike in the open to be retrieved. Players rotated in. A full team of FNATIC to take down, and absolutely no chance. That was a force buy and a Prime Gaming flawless round for FNATIC. Things are not looking good right now. This is a sad turn of events, man. And we knew Haven was going to be pretty tough. You know, they got 5 rounds at most. That was up against Sharks, 3 and 4 up against version 1 and Sentinels. But I mean, this is where their map pool just lets them down in the series, Tom, right? Because their other option was to go to a map they haven't played in a long time of Icebox. And playing that against FNATIC, like I was saying to you when we were talking before the game, you could pull it out if it's a team that's not very strong on Icebox, because they know kind of how to play it. They're just not amazing at it. And obviously things behind the scenes, practice and stuff. But when it comes down to playing it against FNATIC, yeah, probably better not.
Already, the Sheriffs are going to pick one up for them. Now, from what we've seen from FNATIC over the last round at least, they did a lot to hold on to utility. That late ice wall definitely made things really awkward for NUTURN going for that take. Sure, as you said, they didn't necessarily go in that direction, but the fact that FNATIC are able to just hold that for so long almost makes me worried that NUTURN need to put pressure on these portions of the map, try and bait out some of that utility. They've already got the information as well, and there it goes again, Mitch. They're just looking to hold them back.
We talk about Sage's ability to slow down, right? Slow orbs, walls, Magnum's behind, but he's being spotted now, in danger. The pistols, the pack mentality comes into play, and they overwhelm him. A weapon to be retrieved. And a man advantage that just extends even further. FNATIC have the flank covered here with Boaster. They're ready for someone coming through garage. Middle is being watched over. Oh, sorry, not watched over by Killjoy Utility. Killjoy's gone. So now the flank is actually possible. Boaster. Ooh, he's in a bit of danger if he pushes out, but the timing was perfect. The trade is there. Solo caught coming up behind, and a 5 versus 3 falls apart immediately.
Yeah, the communication there from FNATIC must have been perfect. The fact that both Doma and Boaster make it through on the peak at almost exactly the same time is the difference maker. And the start of the round was actually incredibly good out from the side of NUTURN, managing to pick off a few of the more aggressive players, shutting down some of the pushes that were coming out from FNATIC. And then they just managed to steal it back with that perfect crossfire, holding them into the seaside. Mitch, it's 11-4. Just a couple of rounds needed for FNATIC to get their grudge match versus Sentinels, and Durka's going aggressive.
Oh, he is sending it right now with that operator, and a wall bang shot. 26 HP left on Solo. It's about as bad as it gets when you're facing down the barrel of this kind of a deficit. NUTURN get one on the board on the attack side, but this is where they should do it. The buy round, right? They're healing back up their Phoenix. Hot hands expanded for that. The man advantage is theirs. We've seen these fall apart, and that could be the start of the dominoes falling. That recon being avoided. Boaster sneaks around on the side angle. Good for one, buys time for Doma. Wall up, he's above it, and they don't know. The intuition's there for Allow. And man advantage is theirs again, ×2. It's only Durka to worry about. But then again, Tom, it's Durka.
Oh, it's just running all the way down. Perry just goes facing straight into the man, well, known for these clutch situations. Still incredibly low on HP. He would almost need a mistake. He's got the wall bang right, but Lakia is just clinging on to that crossed, so there's no chance in the end. Still, made you worry a little bit for NUTURN, but they're back on the horse. They've got themselves the round. 5 on the board for them. A climb for sure to get themselves back into this position. But they can still do it. I'm not going to count them out just yet. Yes, this hasn't been the map that's worked for them so far, but we're still seeing some of the players shine. Lakia, definitely one to mention, and this round, allow diving into that site and opening things up. Sublime.
8 rounds in a row for FNATIC, Tom, before NUTURN eventually show up. They made things difficult for themselves, but not impossible. One slip up, and FNATIC, they come right back into it. They take themselves probably the game with NUTURN's economy shattered. This is a very important round. We even see Allow on a classic. He's going to be using his Blade Storm to try and bridge that gap. Tucking in up close. Look at Poster. He's in the smoke, and they detect him, deal with him immediately. The run it back serves its purpose of opening space alongside the jet dash. Everything falls into place for NUTURN, and a 5v1 at last, an opportunity. Surely Durka will be able to get the 1v5, the ace clutch to close this out, and thankfully they have dealt with him.
Yeah, not this time. No chance. A good take again from NUTURN, clearing a lot of the angles, the openers. Again, just looking very good for them. And now we're going to start to focus a little bit more on FNATIC. They cannot allow NUTURN to get back into this one. The momentum definitely looking to be built up. And we know especially that if you start getting a few of those extra stars online, you start building up that economy, you can start maybe taking a few more risks. The FNATIC, they need to quell this sooner rather than later. The problem is this round is probably not going to be the place they do it. Because the ultimates, although there's a couple, it's the weaponry that's the issue.
Well, exactly, but map control certainly ain't. They're already down middle. The spray away working. But Lakia picking up to Magnum. Oh, he does damage. Certainly a dent to the NUTURN economy that had been built up over the last round. And with Mystic creeping his way forward,
Oh, no.
sadly, he has been detected.
Solo just seems to place his utility so well to just catch people off guard. It must be so infuriating. Just pushing all the way around, thinking you've got a dirty flank, and the man is just watching you at every turn. It's going to be a 7th. The distance now, they're just 4 between the two. But this is where FNATIC are going to get their purchase back onto the board. Finances should be built up in this one.
By the way, of course, with all these rounds connected for NUTURN, they're reaching a new high score. 7. The best they've done so far here at Masters. Although when 5 was the previous record, it's not that impressive. You want to be building up even more. Now, the upside here is that previously we said if FNATIC get 1 round, NUTURN's economy is broken and they're screwed. Now they've got that little bit of extra cash, but still, that's not going to be much consolation if you have to fight for OT. Durka opens this up, and it's Suggest that's taken down. Wasn't near his ultimate, but still, losing your Phoenix now means losing most of your flashes. You have 1 remaining on parry to try and make any execute you want to happen work.
They've thrown the dart over in towards the seaside, but the Killjoy utility has somewhat given things away. Going to try and hold them back a little further. Magnum has denied that space, and we start to see them spread out once again. But on the other side of the map, Mystic has also got a bit more aggressive, just spotting out towards A and looking to just walk in. Boaster almost comes up with a free kill. The response from NUTURN is now to start going in that direction, and the Seekers, well, Mystic now knows exactly where they are. Every single member pushing in his direction, and they don't really have much time to change their plan.
40 seconds, no map control. That's the most important part. Even if they want to change their plan, they have to do so much before they make that happen. And in fact, they're sending Lakia out as a bit of a sentinel to move, or a satellite, shall we say, moving away from the rest of the team, pushing in towards Garage, trying to bait out with some utility. There it is. Finally, he finds some Killjoy util that he can pull into play. Speaking of pulls, look what's down on Long. Slowing the push and leaving this. Oh, that dash is so important, but the flash, it couldn't blind everybody. That's the problem. Paranoia is huge, but when they're on angles like that, 3 players spread across the site, there's no hope that you hit them all. And so that dash is virtually suicide, hoping merely that they'd pulled enough players out of the site. But of course they hadn't. 12-7, Tom. This is a unfortunate turn of events. They now need 5 rounds in a row. And, well, that was their previous high score on the map.
Yeah, rubbing it in a little bit. Rubbing sort of the wounds, but yeah, this is now a very long road back for the side of NUTURN. They will have a purchase, and they've also got 4 ultimates already online. But a change of pace already from FNATIC. They've left that man Durka to try and hold down C. They're going to have a spot over the top of the Nebula as well. Now for NUTURN, it seems they're going to look to try and challenge into Garage. You can see, again, there's already a little bit of counter utility. It suggests almost gets pulled in, almost caught out, and Magnum probably have had a free kill. He has managed to take that space, but it's been a rough game for him so far. They need him to step up here.
No, absolutely. This is where we need to see CEST come in with some big figures on that Phoenix. Lakia or Perry show us the form that has been there in some of the previous maps and rounds. FNATIC need just one mistake, one opening, and so far they have found plenty in the rounds that have played out. NUTURN attempting a comeback that not many would believe in. Their history on this map is pretty dim. But maybe, just maybe, this is where they make it happen. Allow dashes to backside, gets up close onto Boaster, who's already taken down. Players falling left, right, and center for FNATIC. Allow able to grab himself another, refreshing his knives and putting FNATIC on a serious back foot. We talked about how hard it is to retake the A site versus an Astra. Now sure, NUTURN don't have one, but they've got 2 extra players, and FNATIC, they're hightailing it out of here. The first of the 5-round comeback has been connected by NUTURN.
Yeah, I'm almost a little bit surprised, considering the ultimates available to FNATIC, that they don't take a slightly more passive route. They definitely had a solid read on where the push was going to be going. 3 players ready and waiting on A, but when you have that lockdown, I feel like it's just almost a simple victory for them to just try and force players back out of that site. Instead, we're just seeing them look to hunt down these remaining players. Durka not long for this world, as Lakia is there behind him to get that final kill. 12-8, the difference being 4, and still it is not done just yet. NUTURN could turn this around.
Have to keep this one going. 4 more. It doesn't seem like that many, but in reality, especially against FNATIC, it really is. If I'm counting correctly, and there's a decent chance I'm not, I think FNATIC have 1 more timeout after this. NUTURN used one earlier on, and that was it, if I recall correctly. If that's the case, that means you're talking about multiple buy rounds and multiple reimaginings of the strategy, plenty of time to speak with their coach. And for NUTURN, every passing second, that anxiety, that stress that has been building over the course of this map as they watch FNATIC get closer and closer to that victory and to a guaranteed 3rd place finish. NUTURN they're starting to sweat, and it's building up now during this downtime.
Yeah, I almost wonder if this is where FNATIC pull out a cheese strat. Something maybe they've been hiding in the Mini notebook, and I don't just mean a tiny notebook, I mean a notebook that is owned by Mini. But they've had so many innovative ideas that this would be one hell of a place to put one in. This is the moment where they could look to get that rematch versus Sentinels. Both of these teams have been put in the lower bracket by that squad, the squad that I think has just become the team to beat throughout this tournament. Especially if it will help wipe the smile off Veli's face. But that's another thing altogether. We're going to be getting back into this round, Mitch, and we do have a pretty decent purchase coming out. Allow with the operator on the attack could just look to try and delay that extra space for FNATIC if they do look to try and get a little cheeky in this round.
This is where they show us what they're made of over on the NUTURN side. After the pause, it's most scary, right? What are FNATIC planning? What are they changing up, and how are they planning to defeat us? The questions running through NUTURN's mind. A well-placed, rather a well-timed cloudburst, as well as placed, stops that recon from revealing anything on the C side. But consequently, NUTURN aren't really looking to press the issue. Durka, on the other hand, is now starting to creep on down. CEST was ready for this. He's holding up close still. 1 kill goes to Durka before he's caught off by it. A good start for FNATIC, quickly turned into NUTURN's favor, especially with the run it back online to clear that backside.
It's not necessarily going to get them any kills for it, but it makes sure that every member of FNATIC is just going to fall back for the retake again, though. They left Solo lurking, and FNATIC have just started to predict it. They are expecting these players to be here, and because of this now, it looks like NUTURN are going to try and get a little bit more aggressive themselves, take back some control, and potentially get them an even keel.
A lockdown in play, it's being spammed. It's still alive. There we go. The final shot connected at last. Suggest then gets rushed down. They'll take that trade over on the FNATIC side. A 3v1 now remains allowed.
Ooh.
Dashing out after 2. But still so much more to do. That spike being diffused. He has to go. It's now or never. And the time, it's all gone. Boaster closes it out anyways. 13-8 we go. And FNATIC, they were sent to the lower bracket by Sentinels just a few days ago. And now, after a long battle through this lower bracket, besting V1, Liquid, and now NUTURN, they have fought their way into the grand finals, where they'll get a rematch to take on Sentinels in a BO5 to determine the #1 team in the world. And look at those celebrations, man. I'm excited to see what they've got prepared for us.
Doma with the res, Doma with the res. That is a fantastic celebration, and I don't care what region you're from. It is impossible to not love this team. We've had the friendly banter, we've had the competition between everyone, but it will end with EU versus NA, a rematch of what we saw in one of the initial upper bracket matches. But I think first we do have to say, Korea have put themselves on the map. Like, they came into this tournament as somewhat of a question mark, everybody expecting or hoping, if anything, that we would get the Vision Strikers squad to come through and battle NUTURN. They came in and they have definitely, well, cemented themselves as a team to fear.
NUTURN had a lot of pressure on their shoulders, Tom. You know, when we talk about the Korean region, let's talk about the North American region in particular. Sentinels have delivered amazingly. Version 1 go out in that top 4 spot. Korea only had that one opportunity. You don't have a second team that can be the guys that do it all, and they've come in and outlived one of what is considered to be, you know, the largest or tied largest region of North America. They are definitely on the map. They're definitely deserving of their spot. And right now, I think a lot of teams, and certainly in all the regions, are going to be looking at the Korean region that little bit closer. Although it's always been a thing, at least in EU, whenever we've interviewed the coaches, they've constantly been telling us, we look at the Korean games. You have to look at them because they just do so many things. Even if they don't innovate in the same way that we'll see in EU and NA in terms of agent comps, the way that they play the game is so fantastic.
I think it's only right that they are carrying Magnum today, because I think if you look at the fact of how he played, especially in their series versus Liquid, he was unbelievable. But there's been moments from every single member of this team. They fought through the lower bracket. They even played probably more games. Well, they have to have played more games than everybody else, and they've still gonna make it all the way to that grand final. This team is a squad to fear. That man is the leader of the lot, and honestly, going into the grand final, I think it's going to be really tough to call.
Absolutely. And the fact that it's a BO5 is fantastic, because if you look back at the BO3 that was played between FNATIC and Sentinels, it was a super tight game. So now getting to see that play out with a full pool of maps, I'm so damn excited, Tom. I cannot wait. But that is it for the coverage here today, at least for the casting. Of course, we've still got a wonderful analyst desk that you guys have got to go and sit down
Korea
with.
too, Paper Thin.
Hear all about how the day went. And okay, Paper Thin might be upset, but he can be damn proud of what his region's been able to achieve. We'll be right back with the AD after this quick commercial break.
The entirety of the EMEA region can breathe a sigh of relief because FNATIC came out victorious in the lower bracket final and now have a date with Destiny. Well, another date with Destiny because they're going to be facing off against Sentinels again in our grand finals. As we take a look, though, at our Prime Gaming map highlights, and let's talk about the struggle here for NUTURN to try and get a few more rounds. And I guess, Paperton, we'll start with you on this one, my friend, because it does feel like NUTURN, they figured out, at least, and I put this on Twitter, it feels like they figured out Haven a little bit more so than we gave them credit for initially.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely tried to come in with the curveball here, bringing in Phoenix, with Suggest. It wasn't really that effective with Suggest. Putting Solo on Cypher, I think, makes a little bit more sense with him being the lurker. The cams give you a little bit more, and the trap fires give you a little bit more information, and he can make good decisions based off of that. And I mean, you can see their firepower at times is overwhelming, but at the end of the day, FNATIC just too strong, too good. They're especially on that B site with all that utility they could put down on there. They were just fantastic.
Yeah, Lothar, they were lights out FNATIC. When they needed to close it out, they definitely did, despite some Herculean performances from players like Allow and Lakia.
Last player standing.
Look, I have to say it. Lakia is insane. This guy coming in clutch. It doesn't matter which character would have been played by him. He's gonna be insane. Like, I'm still gonna remember months and months in advance about his double jump on Ascent when he clutched that one round from Haven. That was absolutely nuts. He was showing that today on Bind when he went into the Viper ult, got 2 kills, went out of it. This guy is absolutely insane. We also have seen absolutely monster wallbangs from him on Haven with an Odin for the boss possibly plant. He destroyed a Killjoy ultimate with a wallbang that we have never seen in the past before on A side. So he's a really big impact player for this team, and hopefully we're gonna see NUTURN evolve, as our motto of this event says, in the future. And Korea is just showing up big. I'm really hopeful of this region to be one of the most impactful ones in the future.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, Ryan, the tastemakers of Valorant Esports, North America, Europe, Korea, like there's a lot of good things to take away from what NUTURN brought to the table here. And Lakia, the love for Lakia continues on, because I know that there was a play you wanted to focus on in particular.
Yeah, and I think this was a pretty early turning point for Haven overall, because there was some really good defensive control for NUTURN. You could see the jet over on A, they pushed up the camera on C. Lakia knows that the majority of these FNATIC players on this execute are still going to be on this B site. So what does he do? He goes back to his spawn, lines it up perfectly, and ends up getting a 2K. But the big thing about FNATIC here overall is that after that, they absolutely scrapped it out. They still held on to the site. And it's those moments that I think have really shown FNATIC. Summon FC weren't ever able to really do that. Even the early days of FNATIC, if they had a plan and it went slightly askew, a good ultimate from the enemy team, they would fall apart, they'd crumble. The fact that they were able to take that round in the end shows to me that this is a team that haven't just relied on Dirk and Magnum to pop off. Everybody has their moments where they can improvise, they can riff, and they can show up even when the odds are stacked against them.
Yeah, I know we don't have the clip, but there was that Boaster play when he was in the back corner on C, and he was just holding on for dear life, but it was just so impressive to see him get 2 picks with the classic, also get the stun. Like, Boaster, man, we give him a lot of love, but he really is that darn good. And I know that in a little bit we're going to have an interview ready to go with FNATIC from Dash over in Iceland. We'll toss to that in a moment. But for now, though, Paperton, let's continue to reflect on FNATIC's victory here, because this is monumental for them. They were able to take out NUTURN, who, after Ascent, I was starting to be a little concerned. Despite Haven being that third map, something just didn't sit with me right, Paperton. I'm like, dude, there's a probability that NUTURN could potentially win this, and FNATIC managed to pull it out.
Yeah, there definitely felt like there was some momentum coming into this. NUTURN came out the gate strong, barely, coming out with a Lakia 4K in that pistol round to win it. And they just looked good and they were hitting their shots. They seemed to be making decent decisions. And then things just kind of started to fall apart. FNATIC starts hitting the B site really hard, and NUTURN just doesn't really have a good answer for it other than Lakia hitting that, that twofer on his Hunter's Fury. There just really wasn't much answer for that. FNATIC can just pull out back into the into the main area there, and there's nothing they can do about it. The lurks were dealt with from Solo in those situations. FNATIC just had a great game plan. They locked down C, they locked down A on defense. I mean, they just made it really, really challenging across the board.
Yeah, and now I have... go on, Lothar. Go on. Sorry, buddy.
I just wanted to say that it's also impressive for FNATIC that they were able to win 2 best of 3s in one day with only like a few minutes breaks between them. It's actually super impressive, and the mental state. I can only imagine how much toll did that take on the FNATIC players, and kudos to them. The mental fortitude is there. They have a lot of experience gained by playing by this line already, and tomorrow is gonna be the big day, and I hope to see a completely new lineup for a split, like something completely that will blow my mind, because they played 3 duels before just because they didn't have a plan.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about that in a moment. But for now, though, let's actually send it over to Reykjavik, Iceland, as we have Dash standing by with Mystic in our Verizon post-match interview.
I'm standing by with Mystic. Mystic, you took the long road, but you made it. You're going to the grand finals to get that rematch against Sentinels. How does it feel?
Feels good, obviously. Yeah, we're super excited. I think the whole team here has put in a massive shift. We all played well, especially the hard work put in from Boaster and Mini, like coming up with the structure that we have right now. And it's definitely paid off. Definitely looking forward to playing tomorrow.
That said, today was a marathon of a day, and you have a best of 5 ahead of you tomorrow. But let's talk about going through 2 different opponents in the same day. How does the prep change when you are looking at 2 different styles, 2 different teams, 2 different regions that you're going up against back to back?
Well, we obviously have less time. That's a big factor. Like in between the Liquid game and the NUTURN game, we got Coach Mini just whipping out his phone. He's like, right, we got 10 minutes. They do this, and this, and we're just all there tuned in, like trying to like stay focused on what he's saying and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely hard. I'd say we were less prepared for our second game. But it worked out in the end, and we got the win.
Yeah, exactly. You got that 2-0 over Liquid, which was a rematch, from a regional matchup that you had previously lost. So that had to have felt good going into the game against NUTURN.
Yeah.
But that series against NUTURN, 13-8s across the board for each of the maps. You started out on Bind, which is also one of their best maps. We know it's one of yours as well. But there's a lot of confidence there, I think, in picking to some degree into what you know your opponents like to play as well. Is there not?
Yeah, definitely. Like we've been super confident on our Bind, like since forever, I guess. We'll play against any team, as we definitely believe we're probably the best team in the world on Bind. So happy to play them on Bind. And
all right, think you're the best team in the world on Bind. I love that call out, because it was just yesterday that we got our first look at Sentinels on Bind in this Masters tournament. They had not been forced to bring it out just yet. Shaz had a similar smile on his face in the post-game interview, talking about the fact that they were glad they got to kind of reveal a little bit of it ahead of the grand final. If you have gotten a chance to look at that series already before your matchup tomorrow, what are your thoughts on Sentinels Bind play?
I haven't really watched it, but I've got a pretty good idea of how they play it. It's the comps are quite similar, I'd like to say. So they're just a bunch of copycats, in my opinion.
Ooh, all right. Now, this is a rematch for you going into tomorrow, or a grudge match, if you will. You guys did drop it 2-0 last time around, but it was 13-11, 13-10. So, again, very tight matchups across the 2 maps. And this is a best of 5, which we know is a different animal. So talk to me about your overall approach to tomorrow's match and your confidence level personally.
Confidence is at all-time high with this team behind me. Definitely looking forward to playing them again after looking back on our last series with them. We reviewed them games, and we definitely threw it away. I feel like we're definitely a top contender against Sentinels, and I definitely think we can take the win.
All right, NA versus EU. This has been the conversation from before the tournament even started regionally. Is there anything between the regional matchup that has surprised you yet so far in terms of what your expectation was coming in?
They're definitely better than I thought.
Okay.
Definitely better than I thought.
But you're still better.
But we're still better.
Okay, there you have it. There you have it, everybody. FNATIC looking to go in hot to tomorrow's grand final against Sentinels. Mystic, congratulations on 2 victories today to push yourself there. It's been an absolute marathon, and I'm so happy to see you guys push through.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
From here, we're heading back to Golden Boy and the gang to close out the day.
See ya.
Thank you so much, Dash, for that. And each day that passes by, I become more and more jealous of that man's exquisite hair. It makes me sad, but it makes me happy for him because his hair is so incredible. Hope it stays like that for a long time. Now, what also I'm jealous of is the skills of our HyperX Reflex moment of the day, brought to you by Allow. And let's take a look at this moment here, fellas, because 6-3 in the count, plenty of time on the clock. You're getting some spam here from Mystic. He's looking to bring out that premium cook spam there. And then Durka, he's going to get challenged. Allow's going to come in for the push. As Durka gets sent back, he knows that he's going to be in the danger zone. Picks one up, dashed into the site, a wham and a bam. And he's looking for one more if he can get it. Here it is one more time from his angle. That's the wham, that's the bam, and as a matter of fact, this is the thank you, ma'am. Well done by Allow as he picks up our HyperX Reflex moment of the day. And I just want to say, Paperton, real fast before we move on, the talent out of that team is absurd. It is very scary for anyone to have to deal with.
No, they're crazy good top to bottom mechanically. I mean, that's a big part of what has got them here. You can see that they don't particularly play off their utility as well as these top 2 teams in the Sentinels and FNATIC. I think that's a big difference maker. A lot of it is just on the backs of their ability to just outgun you. And they're crazy talented. There's a lot of crazy talented players in Korea coming up, so watch out, guys.
Oh, 100%. I am going to be glued to that region once more games start up again here. But, you know, guys, we've had 2 games today, and in those 2 games featured the same team in both of them. And it was very difficult to make this decision because every player stood out so much. But our player of the day is FNATIC's Durka. And Ryan, why did we give Durka player of the day?
I mean, you just got to see some of the moments where individual brilliance comes in. I remember talking to Kojo, who's the manager of FNATIC early on, saying we have a player just as good as CNED, and they really wanted to throw the checkbook at him after seeing him play. With a series like this, with a day, or even a tournament like this, you can start to really understand why. There were a couple of moments even on Ascent where he could have potentially pulled out the biggest clutch of the tournament. This is it. It could have really gone that way. But all of FNATIC could get shouted out here, but Durka has been the shining star for this team, and he's leading by example because everybody's starting to pop off for this lineup.
Durka is absolutely amazing. He had a 190 ADR during this match alone. 190, that's just insane. 60 frags over 3 maps, that's 20 on average, and 19 first bloods over 3 maps with only 9 first deaths. That's absolutely insane.
That's
and now,
wild.
what is even more impactful for me is that he's creating that space. You know, he's not always playing on the operator. I always thought that CNED is the best jet in the world because of the way he plays for the team. Like with the really conscious cloud burst to hide from the recon arrows, creating space on sites for everyone else to follow. But Durka seems to be like right behind him, or even maybe as good as CNED on that front. And I'm honestly impressed how much progress he was already good, but the progress he made in the past few months, and to like just play with the rest of the team and make them a whole, like a unit, work as a you know, 5 fingers of one hand, is absolutely insane. And the impact he has cannot be overstated over and over.
Well, in the immortal words of Rick James, what did a 5 fingers say to the hand or to the face? 5 fingers say to the face. Slap. Anyway, mess up the joke again. Typical me. Anyway, though, folks, it's about to go down. We got our rematch for tomorrow. North America's Sentinels takes on Europe's FNATIC. And Paperthin, I got to get your thoughts here, brother. Who do you think is... In fact, I'm going to ask each and every one of you guys, since we're not going to have you tomorrow, but who do you think is going to walk away with this? Paperthin, we'll start with you.
I mean, for me, it's got to be the Sentinels. Just they're on another level. How well they're coordinated, how well they work together, and their mechanics are just so darn solid, so strong. I don't know how anybody can beat them at this point. I mean, FNATIC's incredible. Hats off to them. They played amazing today. They look phenomenal, but I think Sentinels is just in another like realm.
Ryan, what about for you, bro?
I still think it's going to Sentinels this way. I feel like Tombies will be mad at me for just not going to bat for Europe. I do think this could go to all 5 maps, honestly. Now that we're on 5 maps, we can see FNATIC's bind, see how Sentinels adapt to that. But I do think that we saw in this series as well, FNATIC learning how to deal with stuff on Haven that Sentinels really punished them for. So there is a bit of adaptability. There's not a lot of time to get there, but I do think FNATIC could scare Sentinels, but Sentinels are just on another planet right now.
And Lothar, you've been, of all of our regional analysts that we've had on this broadcast, you've been the most non-biased so far, calling it straight down the line. Do you agree with your colleagues that Sentinels should get the victory here after what we saw today from FNATIC?
I think Sentinels right now is the best team in the world, like undoubtedly, especially on the fundamentals, especially on how they play as a team. It's absolutely crazy how disciplined they are, and they weren't like that in the past. Like there were some criticism from my side when it comes to like the way they played, but now on LAN, they are another beast. They might not be the most impressive when it comes to like flashy setups and flashy strategies and some really nasty like setups on defense, but the fundamentals are just there, and they're insanely talented in that. And also, they probably have the best aim as a team. All of them are cracked, and Shazam was impressing me a lot on that. But I have to say, FNATIC can impress as well, but it all comes down to the fact that we've never seen them play on split, like full stop prepared. And if they are able to be prepared on split, I know they're prepared on bind, they're prepared on ascent. I feel like this split will be the biggest question mark for FNATIC. So I do predict that Sentinels is going to probably win by a small margin, but FNATIC has a fighting chance.
Yeah, they certainly do. They certainly do. They're the final 2 teams left in this tournament. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to see a real clash tomorrow here. But guys, that is going to do it for our broadcast today. And Ryan, I just want to thank you again for joining us here, man. And make sure you check out Ryan on HitScan. He's on YouTube. Look it up, youtube.com/HitScan. He's also doing the co-streams. Any words you want to say for the viewers at home, Ryan? And then we'll go with Lothar, and then we'll close out with Paper Thin as well. Ryan?
I mean, what a journey that Valorant's been on. Sort of coming up to a year, I think, in June since it came out. We've gone from all of these unsigned teams, certainly in Europe for the longest time, now going up against the likes of Sentinels. It's just cool that it's come to this, and it's only, I guess, a sign for the future of Valorant, like Masters Berlin, even Champions at the end of the year. This is the first test of many for a lot of these teams, so even though this might be over, well, it will be over tomorrow, there's going to be some major tournaments coming up too that are going to be super hype.
Yeah, and Lothar, what about for you, brother? It's been a pleasure to have you here on the desk all week with me, man.
It's been a wild week, I can tell you that. I didn't expect the LAN to be as exciting from day one. It kept me on my toes, and it's just insane how big the scene is already. I wasn't expecting that kind of viewership on Twitch, on YouTube. It's going through the roof. Big shout outs to the co-streamers as well, because they bring a new audience to the to the scene. And the past months were just incredible, and I'm looking forward to the next LAN, to the actual LANs with audience. Then we're gonna see how our scene really looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible evolution as the year goes on. And Paper Thin, all the way from Korea, my man. It's like, I think it's pretty late over there for you, if I'm correct. But how you feeling, bud?
No, it's 7:45 a.m. Yeah, I'm doing great though, man. This was wonderful. The production staff here, hats off to them. They were incredible, top to bottom. Our observers were insane. They were spot on the whole weekend. Really just fantastic work all around. The talent, just wonderful to work with. Everybody was so welcoming and kind. This is my first time working with most of you, so just beyond thrilled to be here. And I'm so happy Korea did well. I'm more than proud of how NUTURN did. They were incredible. They really put Korea on the map for tac shooters, and the sky's the limit, man, for Valorant. It's so exciting to be a part of this.
And even though on this broadcast we happen to have three individuals with barely any hair or no hair whatsoever, we did want to close out Paper Thin with this illustrious, glorious shot of you, my friend. Look at the locks. Look at the locks. Oh, you love to see it, man. Bring it back.
I'm on the left.
He's on the left, but you know
The
what?
guy on the right is me, though.
Hey, both of you guys could pull it off. Both of you could pull it off. Me, on the other hand, definitely can't. Anyway, guys, from all of us here in
I'm
Los
wearing the cap
Angeles,
today for real.
and that's why he's wearing the hat, and around the world and on the ground in Iceland, we thank you so much for watching. Without you, there will be no VCT. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. But tune in tomorrow's for the finals between Sentinels and FNATIC, NA versus EU. It starts at 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, or 2 a.m. Korean Standard Time. We'll see you tomorrow.
Last player standing. Last player standing.
Let's go!
Last player standing. One enemy. Enemy down.
Welcome to my world.
Alright, 7-5, that's fucking brilliant.
Good job, guys.
Last player standing.
I couldn't all the both sides, one.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Spike down A.
Boys in the
30 seconds left.
I can drop.
Fist box.
No money, like.
Fire in there!
Off your feet! Off your feet!
Stim beacon down.
Be careful of judges. Yeah, I can.
Defenders.
사실 너무 안 좋다.
Last player standing. 적들을 단. 적군이 한 명.
Right, boys, it's 10 around, yeah? Can we show up now? I'm gonna show up now. I'm getting 7 kills in a row. They just.
One enemy.
Red team in, raw team out. Now let's go.
스파이크가 설치되었습니다.